So, recently, Lionsgate just put out a new trailer for a movie that they're doing called The Unbreakable Boy. I was not actually aware of this movie until members of the Discord mentioned it to me and suggested that I do a review on the specific trailer that Lionsgate put out. Normally I don't review trailers given the fact I think it can sometimes be an unfair way to judge a movie just purely based off of its trailer, but after seeing this trailer and seeing what kind of movie this is, I made an exception here. This is it, it's official, being added to the Noah the Otter lore as we speak here. If a trailer is for a movie or show about autism, I am legally obligated to talk about it, cause boy oh boy is there a lot to say on this trailer. Also, if there's more autism media that you have in mind that you'd like me to watch in the future, definitely join my Discord and suggest it there. Obviously this is something very important to me and something I think needs to be discussed more in general, so I'm always happy to talk about things that y'all suggest regarding autism. So regarding The Unbreakable Boy in particular, this movie is supposed to come out from Lionsgate next year in February. It stars Jacob Laval, Zachary Levi, Megan Faye, Patricia Heaton, and Pilot Bunch. This film is actually based on a book called The Unbreakable Boy, A Father's Fear, A Son's Courage, and a Story of Unconditional Love by Scott Michael Lorette, which we'll get to that, believe me. Both the book and the movie are about an autistic boy named Austin who moves to a new school and wants to fit in. In the movie version at least, his dad, played by Zachary Levi, and the rest of his family are seemingly there to encourage him and help him try to fit in at his new school. On paper, this seems like your average smalty family movie you might take your grandmother to go see, which honestly isn't really a bad thing. And there's plenty of movies like that anyway. The start of this trailer honestly does feel like this as well, with Austin being taken by his dad to school and wearing a jester hat and just being himself.
I have a lizard named Marty and a killer hat collection. When I meet people, I tell them everything.
It shows him having different hyperfixations and being okay with that, like having a big hat collection and talking openly about that, which actually is okay in my opinion. And it was here I thought maybe this movie could at least be decent and talk about this kid learning to be okay being himself. And even if other kids think he's weird for liking those things, just being okay being who he is and not stopping enjoying that stuff and continuing to like it and continuing to be himself. That's initially where I thought this movie was gonna go, but then this part of the trailer came up.
What are you doing? I feel like I'm failing every day, and the harder I try, the worse I do.
Your mistakes don't define you. How you heal does.
Why can't we just have nice things? This movie is not about Austin. This is about his family, and Austin is basically being exploited here in this situation. And his family is supposed to look good for taking care of him. I was honestly really crushed when I saw this because I was hoping the movie would just be about Austin and his own personal struggles, but it really does seem like it's focusing more on the family, which I think defeats the point here. In this shot, we see Austin's dad being talked to by other family members and being told he shouldn't beat himself up and that he's trying his best and that he shouldn't dwell on past mistakes. Which, like, okay, but shouldn't you be talking to Austin? I thought this movie was about him, not his family. Why in the world is this happening? Like I said, this trailer did start off okay with Austin actually being shown in a pretty good light. And his never-ending optimism being shown as a good thing, which it is. But then why not just focus on that? Why focus on his family? This confounded me to no end to see, and honestly it does feel very exploitative. I do really wish this trailer had just focused more on Austin and his struggles as an autistic person rather than just focusing on his family for no real reason at all. Apart from trying to make them look good by supporting him, which, yeah, of course they should, he's their son. As a result, I ended up looking more into the production of this film and found out some things that end up clearing up what I was wondering about. First of all, this film was actually filmed in 2020 and was supposed to come out in 2022, but ended up getting delayed, and eventually just shelved altogether. Part of the reason for this allegedly is the fact that Sia's film Music came out in 2021 and was so disliked by people on the autism spectrum that Lionsgate ended up pushing back the release of The Unbreakable Boy until things tied over, but then ended up just shelving it altogether. However, more recently, this project has been revived as being put out by them next year. And a lot of people speculate the reason why Lionsgate is doing this is because they were told to do so by one of the main actors on the cast, that being Zachary Levi. Zachary Levi's had a pretty infamous run in Hollywood recently for a lot of reasons that I'm not going to get into here, since they don't really correlate to this particular discussion, but one thing I will bring up is that Zachary Levi is best known as the actor for Shazam, in the movies based on the DC Comics character. Last year, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, the sequel to the first Shazam movie, came out and was a big flop, to which Levi expressed much disappointment and chagrin. Specifically, he stated before he was hoping the role of Shazam would net him stardom to the levels of Chris Evans and The Rock, which admittedly is probably setting expectations far too high, since while he is pretty fun as Shazam, he was not really the face of the DC universe, much like Chris Evans was the face of the MCU, or one of the main faces of it for a long time for Disney and Marvel. And even before the MCU really caught on as a thing for Disney overall, Chris Evans had already established himself as a presence in the film industry in general. Before doing Shazam, Zachary Levi was probably best known as being the voice of Flynn Rider from Disney's Tangled, which admittedly was not great if you wanted people to recognize his face. Since Shazam 2 was a dud for Warner Brothers, and Levi has not yet been stated if he's going to be in the reboot of the DCEU that James Gunn is doing, he seemed extremely disappointed after this, and yet another disappointment came in the form of Harold and the Purple Crayon. This movie actually released this year from Sony Pictures, and also had Levi in a starring role, and was also a huge flop. It was a big disaster for Sony, earning $26 million worldwide on a $40 million budget. Between these two box office disasters, and the fact that his public image was dwindling thanks to the fact that he seemed rather spiteful towards Chris Evans and other more popular actors at the time, at least in the public eye, it does sort of make sense why people would infer that he went straight to Lionsgate to get this film, which initially had been already shelved, out to the public again, just so he could look better. Which admittedly that seems to have backfired, since this trailer already has a lot of backlash towards it, both YouTube, where the initial trailer has plenty of dislikes, and also on social media, where people have vented their frustrations about the fact that this film is not really talking about the autistic kid at all, it's more talking about Zachary Levi and his family in this movie. A lot of folks have discussed that it comes off more like music, where it seems more like a propaganda piece and very exploitative, rather than actually trying to tell the autistic person's story, and make them feel like a real person and show them in a good light. It's also worth circling back to what I stated before about this film being based on a book. I ended up doing some research on this particular book and found out that there's actually a blog attached to it. Supposedly this blog is actually what inspired this book to be written, and also by default this movie to be made to begin with. However, one notable thing about this blog is that it's quoted a post from Autism Speaks, which is a very notorious organization for obvious reasons. I brought this up a little bit in my Good Doctor video where I talked about how Disney and ABC actually worked with Autism Speaks to localize The Good Doctor in America, but they are unfortunately a very notorious organization that actually treats autism like a disease that needs to be cured more than anything. It's really unfortunate to see that this blog has actually quoted a post from them, and I'm hoping they have no involvement with this movie whatsoever. However, at the end of the day, this is just a trailer, and I could be totally wrong about this entire film, and it could be great. And honestly, I'd love to be wrong here. I'd love this to be a great autism representation. But at least from this initial trailer, things are not looking so promising. I suppose we'll see when the film actually comes out in February. I'll likely be doing a full review then. Comment below if you'd like to see that. But to be honest, even if this doesn't end up being a good representation at all, we still have plenty of great autism representation out there in general, I feel like. PBS Kids has absolutely been killing it with shows like Carl the Collector, and even Disney has been good about this from time to time, with plenty of great autistic coded characters in The Owl House and Amphibia. So even if this doesn't work out as a good representation, I can just go back and watch those, and I'm just really glad we have those, and I hope that continues for many years to come. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you didn't like it, give it a like anyway. If you want to check out all my socials down below, you can see all those down there. And if you want to join my Discord too, where you can communicate with me and others offline, that should be linked down below. And if you want to check out my Letterboxd, that is linked down below as well. That's where I review movies, oftentimes movies or shows I won't review here on YouTube, so you can check that out too if you want extra content from me. But for now, I've been Noah the Otter, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye!